We are back with another edition of the Sam Adams Show, brought to you obviously by Kia of Anniston in Oxford, and I want to thank those guys for everything they do for not only us, but the student athletes and schools and players all over the place. Kia has pretty much helped sponsor us from Birmingham all the way up through Northeast Alabama at this point. We want to thank them for that. Now, Coach, last week you guys had a very formidable opponent, and you knew you were up against it going into that game after you seen how good they were on film. Take us back to last Friday night. You guys come up a little short against Spencer Valley in a big loss, but I'm sure there was some positives in it, and we're just going to dive right into it.
Yeah, I think our challenge for us coming out of that game and looking back on it and moving forward is, the challenge for me is to find a way to coach our guys so that we can play at a consistent level, down in and down out. Kind of what we saw the other night is we were successful on both sides of the ball in certain spurts, but then we had major breakdowns which cost us kind of immediate points, on either side of the ball. So in the first half, they'd gotten ahead by a little bit, and we'd cut it to 17-13, and really had a lot of momentum going into halftime, and then coming out, we felt good about where we were, and then we just had a few breakdowns and got it back to 24-21 in the third, and from that point on, we just gave up a few big plays on defense and missed some, opportunities on offense to be able to sustain some drives, and they kind of separated themselves score-wise from us at the end of the game, and the score was probably not exactly indicative of how the game went, but they earned everything that they got, and hopefully we learned from the mistakes that we made and moved forward this week against another really good opponent.
Now, Coach, I was actually having to call a game on the radio last week due to a semi-emergency, and but we were watching it on the network, and we were, also listening to it as well. Mm-hmm. From what I heard, that crowd was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Oxford people showed up and showed out last week. Can you talk about that crowd, how important it is to continue that and grow from it?
It's so important. I mean, our kids, they feed off of that energy from the crowd. And they can tell just the buzz in the stadium when we go out for warm-ups. If there's a lot of people there, or the opposite. I mean, usually we have, really big crowds at Oxford. It's a place that really loves football, and they understand the importance of how we invest in our kids, and they're going to do the same on their end. So it was a fantastic crowd, and hopefully we have another huge crowd here for our homecoming game this Friday against Hartselle.
Now, Coach, you mentioned Hartselle, and they just got through with a gut-wrenching win at
Mm-hmm.
Gadsden City, as somebody you guys are familiar with as well.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen from those guys? Because they're off to a very good start. This ain't just baseball anymore. We're talking about.
No. I mean, they're 5-0, and I think defensively giving up about 8 points a game right now, and offensively they're aside from the 16-point game they just had against Gadsden City, they'd scored well up in the 40s at least in their previous game. So offensively, they got a really good set of athletes there. They got a really good quarterback, running back, receiver combination, and a big offensive line that's pretty physical at the point of attack. And they would put you in some tough spots formationally and try to work some matchups on you. And then defensively, Bert Newton's our defensive coordinator, a very veteran guy who's been Hartselle a few different times. It was at Mountain Brook, Vestavia. And they run the 3-3 stack kind of scheme where a lot of it's based on trying to create some chaos in the box. Angling guys, blitzing guys, twisting guys, all the above to try to create some chaos in there, and then just try to limit the big plays they give up on in the defensive backfield. Really, so. And they've got solid players across the board on that side as well. So I mean, there's a reason why they're 5-0 and one of the top 10 teams in the state and one of the top defenses in the state and all the above. I mean, they've got good coaches, good players, and it'll take our best to be able to beat those guys.
Man, and that 3-3 stack's a very versatile defense. You're correct about that, and and it can create havoc if you can't get a control of it.
Yeah.
There ain't no doubt about it. Now, Coach, one thing that's stuck out to me, even in that game and watching some clips, they actually got in the red zone numerous times and didn't capitalize.
Yeah.
So their offense was still moving the ball.
Yeah. They had one time they threw an interception,
That's
I think,
right.
in the end zone, which was kind of a tough luck thing. You saw the whole play unfold. They had a receiver that was uncovered. The DB just simply didn't see him out there, And so the quarterback's just trying to snap it and throw it out there to him late, and the corner runs out at the last minute and picks it off. So it was kind of a flukish sort of play on both ends there. But I think the first half of that game, they had about 250 yards of offense, but were only able to score, I guess, 2 touchdowns on it. And then the second half, Gadsden City bowed up on defense. Held them to maybe 60-ish yards or something like that in the second half. And Gadsden City just didn't have enough kind of firepower to be able to score enough to win the game.
Yeah, I think they're down to their third quarterback.
Yes, they are.
Quarterback or
That's
something
tough.
like that.
That is tough.
What was it on that game film defensively? You've seen Gadsden City was doing some things that maybe gave them a little bit of trouble in the second half.
Well, they in general, when they were able to stop them and prevent big plays, they just did a really good job of tackling the ball carrier. That's Gadsden City is their record might not look all that great right now, but they've still got players. And they're probably stronger on the defensive side of the ball than the offense, in my opinion. At least in this game, they were better on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball. But they just did a really good job of getting the guys on the ground. They gave up a few big plays, chunk plays in the first half, but I think after they just kind of settled down and played off blocks a little bit better and just tackled the ball carrier better, they did a lot better job in the second half.
Now, let me ask you this. When you come off a loss like that, and there's so much tension and hype and everything, you feel like you guys come in a little bit loose that next week, like breathe a little bit, in other words?
That's a tough question. I think, we kind of had to hit that balance yesterday after a loss when we met with our kids of, making sure that they understand that we played some good football in spurts, but the times when we were not playing our best was simply unacceptable. We're playing against a really good team.
That's right.
And a lot of the reasons that, we weren't successful all the time was because Spencer Valley had good players and good coaches and all those kind of things. But we cannot have Oxford hurting Oxford.
That's right.
And that's kind of what we saw a few times. It's simple alignment issues, run fit issues on defense, offense, just assignment and alignment issues there too. We've got to be able to be 100% on all the things that we can control. And hey, sometimes you may line up perfect and play as hard as you can. The guy across from you is just better than you. And but the other night we felt like we had a great chance to compete and have that to be a really tight game at the end. And we felt like a lot of the errors were self-inflicted on ourselves.
Which, you guys had it like where you wanted it, 24-21 and third.
Yep.
That's exactly where you wanted it. So definitely there. And like you said, the last person you want playing against Oxford's Oxford.
That's right. Yeah. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. And I always, the phrase I use with our guys all the time is we have to master the things that require no talent.
That's
right. So the no talent things like lining up properly and like knowing what your assignment is. And anybody, regardless of how big, fast, slow you are,
that's right,
you should be able to line up properly and execute your assignment.
That's exactly right.
So if we fix those things, then we get a chance to beat most of the teams out there in the state.
And if you don't do those little things, even if you are a superb athlete, it can put you in some awkward situations to where you can't recover things.
Yeah, that's kind of and I think the number one guy to blame sitting right here beside you. We've got a lot of really talented guys that are not very experienced, or young grade-wise and all that, but we can only use that hey, we're young reasoning for so long. A lot of guys out there have played 6 games now. This may be their first year as a varsity football player, but they've played some ball. So
they've played some dudes.
Yeah, that's right. So that excuse has got to go out the wayside, and we just got to play. We got to coach better, and we got to play better.
Yeah, y'all didn't schedule the Sisters of Mercy this year.
No, we definitely did not. We definitely did not.
Last year's was like the worst I've ever seen in the history of 6A football.
Yeah.
And then you replace it this year, it's still a very formidable team.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's by design. We want to be exposed to a lot of different kind of athletes and different schemes and all that, so that we're hopefully peaking at the end of the year, weeks 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And, we're still, that's a region loss. So we're 2-1 in the region. Still in the hunt for all the above. Everything there. Region championship still in play. Home field advantage is still in play. We're not locked into a playoff spot just yet, but we can definitely control that. And the region standings go. You want to be a 1 or 2, so you play at home in the first round. But sometimes there are situations out there where if you look at the way the bracket's laid out, hey, that 3 seed may have an easier road than the 2 seed, or vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
Anything can happen. Getting playoffs, it's all about matchups and all
right.
that. So. We're just hoping that playing these difficult non-region games and region games will put us in a position to be playing our best come the end of the season.
That's exactly what you want, Coach. And I appreciate you again. And I also appreciate these guys at Kia of Anniston, Oxford, for allowing us to do the show once more here in their beautiful location. And, Coach, good luck to you guys moving forward. I know, like you said, you know, this Hartselle team's not the same ones, and people's got to be ready for a very good football team you're about to face. But
absolutely,
I think you guys do what you're supposed to do. You're going to be fine in that football game.
I hope so. We're just hoping hope both teams play their very best. We'll see what happens.
Coach, thank you so much, and we'll see you again here next Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.